Afternoon everybody, my name's Ian Critchley, I'm the Deputy Chief Constable of Merseyside Police. Thank you for coming out this afternoon. I just want to give you a very brief update in relation to our investigation into the most appalling and callous murder of Ellie on Christmas Eve. A lady was out celebrating with family, friends, like other members of the community in this public house here, the Lighthouse in Wallasey, and to be murdered in the most horrific and brutal way by the most cowardly of actions is quite incomprehensible for us all. And our thoughts and deepest sympathy are with Ellie's family, who will now suffer this loss for the rest of their lives, and we're working closely with them at this most difficult and distressing time for them, and I cannot comprehend what they are going through at this moment in time. Our staff at Merseyside Police are working relentlessly to find out who is responsible for this appalling act. We will not rest until we bring the offenders to justice. And by that I mean the person who pulled the trigger of the gun in the most indiscriminate way in this public house on Christmas Eve. Anybody who was responsible for arranging, facilitating or harbouring this individual, and anybody who continues to withhold information on who has done this, or indeed where the weapon is that has led to this tragic fatality. We will not rest. We will be tireless in our approach to find justice for Ellie and her family. We will also continue to target anybody involved in organised criminality in the Wirral area. This is a fantastic community in Wallasey. The public, quite understandably, are appalled. We understand people are scared as a result of what have happened, but I've been so supportive to my staff, been helping us. We've had some tremendous intelligence and community support to help us with our investigation. I was out on Friday in the Woodchurch area of the Wirral, seeing the fantastic work Superintendent Moscrop, the local commander, and his staff doing to target organised criminality. The small few cowards who seek to prey on the vulnerability of others for their own greed. We don't tolerate that. Over the last few years we've seen the lowest number of discharges in Merseyside. But one discharge is one too many, and clearly this is not the first time in Merseyside that we've seen fatalities, particularly those caught up who were in the right place at the right time. The offenders were not, who were doing the wrong things that cannot be tolerated in our society. I know I speak on behalf of everybody in this area, and I certainly speak on behalf of Merseyside Police, that will not rest until this person is behind bars, hopefully for the rest of their lives, and anybody who is helping them around that. Our activity will continue day in, day out to support the investigation, but it will also continue over many weeks and many months now across this fantastic area of the Wirral to remove anyone involved in organised criminality, to remove guns and weapons off the street where there's absolutely no place for them, to not just remove the organised criminal, but to bring to justice people who harbour them, who are happy to use the profits to live in a lifestyle that comes from preying on other people. And we'll remove the cash, the guns and the people off the streets to make sure that communities can thrive and not live in fear of the small few who carry out these most appalling acts. Really grateful for the support of the media and the appeals that we put out. That continues. Please continue to help us with the investigation. I continue to appeal for information. I understand that some people can be scared. Please use Crime Stoppers if you are. We've got loads of staff out. We'll be out relentlessly supporting the community. Please come and speak to us. But we'll also be out going through doors, day in, day out, of anybody who's committing organised crime. Please continue to help us. We will bring these offenders to justice, and we'll bring anybody involved in organised criminality in our area before the courts as well. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Your statement suggests that you're still looking for people in connection with this murder. Is that the case?
I'm still appealing for information in relation to anybody who knows who the person was responsible for pulling that trigger in the most indiscriminate, most appalling way. Anybody who knows where that weapon is, anybody who has harboured or has any information at all, we still want to hear from them, please, yes.
And can you tell us in the moments leading up to that, did somebody go inside the pub and trigger it, or was it from a car park?
I'm not going to go into too many details. That investigation, having investigators working round the clock now to understand what took place before, during this most terrifying attack, for everybody who was in that pub enjoying themselves, and obviously what took place afterwards in relation to the gunman leaving that scene. Our investigation are continuing at pace. We have made great strides forward, but I am appealing for further information.
And what do we know about the guy in hospital? Do you know his condition?
He is still critical around that. There were 4 other people that were injured. Tragically, Ellie lost her life and is no longer with us and is no longer with her family.
Are there areas where you believe that weapon may have been disposed of? Are there places that you're focusing on?
Or any information in relation to that weapon, or indeed any weapons. There is no place in our society at all for firearms or anybody who use them. People who use them are utter cowards. Utter cowards. We want to remove the firearms. I want to remove the people that use them. And certainly in relation to that weapon, our appeal is please give us any information that can help us find the weapon that has led to the fatality of a young woman who should be with us today.
Forensics managed to connect it to any other crimes?
That is ongoing, clearly. It's part of our ongoing investigation.
We know whether the weapon was probably on site?
Still part of our ongoing investigations. I'm not going to release anything further in relation to that weapon. It's as you'd expect, subject to further forensic tests.
Can you tell us what you are doing to take these weapons off the streets? Obviously, the people that we speak here today are just genuinely stunned at like how easily these weapons find their way into the hands of these sorts of people. So, what are the police doing to get those weapons off the streets?
It's quite appalling, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is quite appalling that people feel that they can use weapons in this way, and the vast majority of the public are appalled at the abhorrent acts of anybody who uses firearms. Merseyside Police, in the last 2 years, we have reduced the incidence of firearms discharges to its lowest level in the last 20 years. But one discharge remains one too many, and one discharge, as we've seen here, leads to innocent members of the public losing their lives. So we work tirelessly in relation to removing weapons off the streets. We appeal for members of the public to help us, and we're taking weapons off the criminals every week, every month within this area. We're supported by our regional organised crime unit and working with the NCA. By appeal to continue for information to the public to help us. Don't tolerate it. We know these bullies, these cowards will often use somebody who's more vulnerable to store the weapon. Please don't be scared by that. Please come to us. Come to us anonymously if you know where the weapons are. Only recently, in relation to firearms surrenders, we took 80 firearms off the streets in relation to a national firearms surrender. One gun out in society is one too many, which we know can cause a fatality. We will be relentless in removing the firearm, the person that's using it, and the money that they seek to use for their own profits, for their own greed, which we know blights communities.
What can you say to reassure those people? These are 20-something adults who are genuinely scared of the people who did this. They don't want to speak out. What can you say to them?
It's quite understandable people being frightened. People have been in this public house having a fantastic time. I spoke to the local MP this morning. This is a fantastic community spirited area, and the vast majority of people are utterly appalled by what has taken place here. There has been fantastic support from my officers and staff who've been out and about, and we will continue to be here to reassure the public, to make sure that people can continue to go about their lives. But Ellie can't, can she? So we want appeal for information to help us remove the people who put people in fear, who have caused this, to make sure that communities like this can thrive rather than seeing people harmed in the most appalling way.
You mentioned you visited the Woodchurch estate. Is it too early to create a direct link between the events here and the ongoing feud that's been happening between gangs on that estate?
Well, there are a number of areas across Wirral which we're policing. As I've said, we will go into any area, any door where people who are involved in organised criminality, who are using weapons for their own greed, often in relation to supplying drugs. So we have seen over a number of months some level of escalation here. There has been real relentless activity in relation to the arrest of a number of people who are now behind bars or remanded in custody, significant seizures of drugs and other weapons. And I urge people and the families of these people, you know, let's put a stop to this. There is no place for it. We've seen the consequences. We've seen the consequences of it. And the families of the people who are involved in this, don't tolerate it. Don't live off the profits, because you have blood on your hands too, if you're a bystander, or if you want to live off the money that's being gained. And we will, as we have done, continue to go through doors day in, day out. Only in the last 2 days, we've made over 40 arrests, made 50 stop searches, undertaken a number of warrants in this area. An assurance to the fantastic communities that live here, we will continue to do that.
So
My sincere thanks to the public for the support, most importantly for their support for Ellie's family and the grief that's been shared and the empathy and for their loss. No one can truly understand what that family is going through. A family where 1 minute somebody's celebrating and the next they will be devastated for the rest of their lives. I'm truly grateful for the support that Merseyside Police have had, whether that's supporting our officers and staff who have been tirelessly, from the moment we got called, working on this investigation to secure evidence, to seek to bring offenders to justice, to reassure the public. The support has been tremendous, as has the intelligence that continues to come to us. But my appeal is, please, if you have information directly that can assist us identify further what has taken place, where the weapons are, please tell us. But anybody involved in organised criminality, no matter how small you think it is, please contact Merseyside Police direct. Or if you feel more confident to do so anonymously, please contact Crime Stoppers. And my assurance is, as we have over many months here, we will continue to act on all information.
So just to be clear, are you explicitly linking what happened here to organised crime or gang activity?
We're still continuing our investigation in relation to what took place, what led to that coward coming to this pub and discharging that firearm here. That is a key part of our investigation, of course.
What would be your message to Elle's family? You mentioned it's right before Christmas, the night before Christmas, that they've gone through this. So what would be your message to them?
It's truly heartbreaking. We are working with Ellie's family. Nothing I say can bring back a loved one, a daughter, sister. It is truly, truly tragic. We are so deeply sorry for their loss. As the whole of this community, and we've seen obviously the nation's grief around it. What we can assure them of is that we're relentless. We'll be relentless on seeking to bring the offender and anybody who has assisted or supported that offender and put them behind bars. Yeah, the family have been spoken to by our family support officers. We will continue to work with them, obviously, in what is the immediacy of this incident.
What's behind the relatively recent rise in gun crime in the world specifically? It never used to be a regular feature of criminal scene in the world, like in other areas of Merseyside. What would you say has changed in the past year or so?
there's only one person responsible when the firearms discharge takes place, and that's the person themselves who chooses to press the trigger on that gun. Their motive is usually almost around greed, territory, using violence in order that they can then profit from the selling of drugs in order to make money, and comes from dispute. What we've seen is some disputes between different organised crime groups, many of whom that we have taken off the streets already, but there clearly remains people out here who believe that a use of violence is the way for them to be able to dominate their territory. Well, the message is from me that we will be relentless around identifying who they are, bringing them to justice, taking every single penny from them that's been obtained from criminality and putting that back into communities. And we've done that across areas of Merseyside in order to make sure that those communities can thrive, not be harmed like in this case.
We've got another big night coming up, New Year's Eve. How can people, that come out on New Year's Eve feel safe and reassured that something terrible like this isn't going to happen on Christmas Eve?
It's really important, isn't it, when we see such tragic events like this and out of such darkness that will remain for a lifetime for a family, that we also give hope to communities. This is a very strong knit community, a community that has really come together to support Ellie's family, support my officers in relation to the activity that were taking place. We've had officers and staff out here 24/7 ensuring them to be able to go about their business, go about continuing to do normal things, as Ellie was doing on the night, just doing normal things in a pub with friends, and tragically not able to return. We will be here, we will continue to reassure. That reassurance also comes from being able to take out the people off our streets, off our society, so actually societies can thrive. We want people in this community to be able to thrive, and we will move forward from this. We will continue clearly to support Ellie's family. We want decent members of the public to thrive in this fantastic community, this tight-knit community, working closely with our local officers, our PCSOs and support officers, with local businesses and communities who all come together, and that's the power, isn't it, of good communities, good solid support for people. And by doing so, we leave the criminals on the outside alone, we target them and we bring them to justice. So I want people to continue to provide us with that information while we reassure members of the public to be able to go about their business moving forward. Thank you. Okay, thanks very much. Thank you.